All right, let's dive right in. We're going to tackle one of the biggest challenges in cybersecurity today. How in the world do you build real, solid skills in a field that seems to change every single day? It's not just about what you learn, it's about building a system for growth. Let's get into it.
So let's just start with that big question right there. How do you actually master something that feels like it's built on shifting sand? You know the drill. You learn a new tool and boom, tomorrow there's a better one. You master a technique and the next day a patch comes out and makes it totally useless. It feels like you're in a constant race.
And look, this pressure is absolutely real. The cybersecurity world is just enormous. You've got all these different domains, thousands of tools, and a pace of change that can feel, well, relentless. It is so easy to feel like you're always just playing catch-up. And yeah, that can be pretty intimidating. So how do we get ahead of that curve?
Well, we do it by building our own training ground, a totally safe space where we can experiment, where we can fail, and most importantly, where we can learn without any of those scary real-world consequences. This is where we build the kind of fundamental skills that don't become obsolete.
And that brings us to Kioptrix. The best way to think of it is like a digital sparring partner. It's a whole series of virtual machines that are, and this is the key, intentionally designed to be vulnerable. It's basically a purpose-built playground for people like us, aspiring ethical hackers, to practice our skills legally and safely. It's your own personal cyber gym.
And this chart really just lays out the stakes, doesn't it? Practicing in a virtual lab like Kioptrix is safe, it's legal, and crucially, it's repeatable. You can try an attack, it doesn't work, you just reset the machine and try again. Now compare that to trying to learn on live systems, which is dangerous, potentially illegal, and carries just massive risks. I mean, the choice is pretty obvious, right?
Okay, so we've got our training ground. Awesome. But, just having a gym membership doesn't automatically make you fit. You need a routine, a plan. And this is where we introduce what I call the weekly growth habit.
Think about it like this. A concert pianist doesn't just sit down and play songs all day. No, they practice their scales every single day. That's what builds that deep instinctual skill. For us, tackling a challenge like Kioptrix every week, that's our version of playing scales. It's all about building that cybersecurity muscle memory.
So the weekly process itself is actually super simple, but it's incredibly powerful. First, you set a really clear goal for your session. Second, you execute. You get your hands dirty and try stuff. Third, and listen, this is the most important part, you have to embrace the struggle. Getting stuck isn't failing, it is the exact moment that real learning is happening. And then finally, step 4, you document everything.
Now, that fourth step, documenting, it is so critical that it really deserves its own dedicated method. We call it the new memo method. It's inspired by the Korean say memo, and it's all about just capturing your insights right as they happen.
Because here's the thing, practice alone, it's not enough. Practice gives you experience, for sure, but it's the act of consciously documenting and then reflecting on that experience that actually turns it into wisdom. That's the difference between just doing something and truly understanding it.
And this is basically what your new memo could look like. It's just a simple table. What did I try? What was the exact command I used? What happened? And then most importantly, what was the key thing I learned? And hey, notice that failed result? That is not a failure. That's a huge learning opportunity that you've now captured forever.
So when you combine these two big ideas, the virtual training ground and this structured way of documenting, you create this incredibly powerful engine for your own growth.
It all becomes this simple, repeatable loop. You practice in Kioptrix, you document everything using the new memo method, you reflect on your notes during the week, your skills grow, and then you just repeat it week after week. This consistent loop, this is what separates the people who just dabble from the people who become masters.
And let's be really clear here. The goal isn't just to memorize a long list of Nmap commands. It's about building a personal, sustainable system for your own professional development. It's a habit that is going to serve you for your entire career, long after these specific tools and techniques have changed.
So I'm just going to leave you with this one question. After all of this, what's the very first goal, the first attempt, or the first lesson that you're going to capture in your own new memo this week? Time to get started.